right, next car, Robert. Dan Ostwick, the 1965 AMC Rambler Ambassador Convertible. I know this was something that stood out to you.
Well, it stood out to me because as I looked at the registration for the show, we have 4 American Motors products out of 50 cars. That's an 8% market share. If AMC had had that market share when they were still in business, they'd still be in business. So if anything, they're overrepresented at this show. But this was a very attractive, very elegant car, the largest one that American Motors built at the time. Great proportions, good mechanicals, but it was at a point where, you know, Ford, GM, and Chrysler were turning out such dramatic designs that if they did something very good, it was tough for people to notice. So I would say it was a great car that didn't have much impact at the time, but is an incredibly interesting collector's piece, especially the convertible. I'm just not even sure I've ever seen an Ambassador convertible before.
Well, let's learn a little bit more about it with Eric Gorgeous and Dan Ostwick. Eric, over to you.
Hey, how are you?
Yeah, real good, real good. Just delighted to be here.
Thank you so much for coming out. Thank you. So what do we have here?
1965 AMC Ambassador, obviously a convertible.
65 Ambassador convertible.
Yes.
Now, was this something, a dream car of yours you wanted to have?
About 4 years ago, I decided I wanted a classic car, and this is what I decided I wanted. Nothing else. This was what I looked for.
You did?
I looked for.
Was it hard to find?
Yeah, the first one I looked at was repainted a different color with the doors shut. The second one wouldn't get out of its own way, and it was 750 miles upstate New York.
Oh, okay, all right.
This one was in New Jersey, 750 miles. Yeah.
All right.
He had it for 9 years, didn't go 900 miles, it sat in the garage.
Really?
Before then, it came from California.
So what was it about the Ambassador that you had to have?
Just a lovely, wonderful, beautiful car, and I remember working on them. I started as a mechanic in an AMC dealership in '64.
Oh, so you were a wrench at a dealership?
Yeah, for about 3 years, and moved on to service manager and parts manager all the way through Chrysler '87.
Good for you, man.
All
Congratulations. AMC. How was it working on this car when you were younger?
I know the problems, and I still bought one, right?
Was there any specific problems with this car?
The front suspension's a little bit, it's got trunnions, which most people don't know what they are.
All right, man. Hey, thanks for coming out.
Thanks for having us.
All right, Fred, back to you tonight.
All right, Eric, thank you. Back with Bob Lutz at the Dream Cruise Roadshow. And that Ambassador, it was interesting. You said, well, you got it in New Jersey, but it had a California title.
Apparently, yeah.
So that's something you want to look for is a car from a warm weather climate, I guess.
Well, with old cars, yeah, because this was before dual-sided galvanized steel, which all manufacturers are using now. So today's cars, you'll notice that you see, 10-year-old Chryslers, 12-year-old Fords, 14-year-old Chevrolets, not a spot of rust on them. They don't rust anymore. But back in those days, if you're buying a car of this vintage, it's probably a good thing to get it from some state where they didn't use salt.
Well, yeah, that's something I noticed that, used to be you're doing all kinds of Bondo and work and looking for rust and,
yeah.
They had the rust prevention and all that, but it almost seems like these days, whether it's the polymers or the undercarriages or whatever, it's almost rust-free right from the manufacturer.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of people still want to get them undercoated, but frankly, they're kind of wasting their money because the modern vehicles, especially produced in the USA, are essentially rust-proof.